Hello, you're listening to Offer Accepted, the show that is all about fostering careers in real estate and growing your real estate team. Your host is Vanessa Rosenblum. Vanessa is the president of a search firm called Pro REA Staffing, where they help real estate agents hire talented people so that they can grow their businesses. On this show, Vanessa interviews real estate industry professionals from real estate assistants to team leaders of mega teams to learn how they achieved their current level of success and what they're doing to rise to the next level in their career or business. Whether you are exploring a career in real estate or you currently run a large real estate team and you want to be better at recruiting, training, and managing your employees and agents, this is a show you'll want to follow, so don't forget to hit subscribe. All right, let's go to the show. Here's your host, Vanessa.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking about building a business that supports the life you want to lead. This is a topic I'm very passionate about, and I'm excited to share Stacy's story with you. We're going to talk about how she grew a very successful real estate team and why she decided to start over from scratch. And we'll find out if making such a drastic move was worth the risk and about her new business model. But before we get into the podcast, have you signed up for the Thrive Guide? The Thrive Guide is my monthly newsletter, and it's packed with resources for real estate agents who want to build a thriving real estate team. You'll hear from industry experts and get special discounts on HireLab and Pro REA staffing products and events, and these are discounts that are offered only to Thrive Guide members. Sign up today. The link is in the show notes, or go to hire-lab.com. All right, let's get into the interview. Hi, Stacy. How are you today?
Hi, Vanessa. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to talk to you today. I love talking about team building and designing the business that you want to lead. And this is something that you have personal experience with, and you help other people achieve it. So I'm really excited to dig into the knowledge you have to share. So thanks for spending some time with me.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, let's just start at the beginning. I always like to get people's origin story. So how and why did you get into real estate?
Yes, so I was actually a senior in high school at the time and was kidding around with some friends because a resort real estate office had just opened close by, and applied as a salesperson at that real estate office. And they did end up calling me and offering me a position as the assistant to one of the coordinators. And so that's how I was introduced. I worked part-time, while I finished high school, and I was planning to go to college and go down the road of doing international business. And I got into, the world of real estate and really just fell in love with it and saw a gap that I could fill in the client experience side of it. And so I worked there for a couple of years and then pursued getting my license when I was 19 and began building my business from there.
That is amazing. At 19, that is so cool. So I know you've done a few different things as you built your career. So at 19, tell us what those first couple of years were like as a new agent.
Yes. So I was fortunate enough to also be doing, my first couple of years when the recession hit. And so it was crazy on both sides, just a new industry and whole new world, and also dealing with, the 2006 to 2011 kind of time frame when all of that went down. So the first couple of years, though, starting in 2006 was, it was very busy, but I didn't have a big network. And so my focus was working the plan that I had created, just as far as, who to call, what to say, those kinds of things. And, did a lot of things to prime and prep myself from a mindset perspective, because I was, so young and I didn't have a network. The way that I built my business originally was door knocking, listings that had a bad experience and had canceled their listings, but still wanted to sell, and started my client base that way.
Amazing. Now, take us up, let's go over to the most recent few years. So eventually you decided to start a team. Why? Take us through your decision-making process. Why start a team?
Yes. So I knew early on what my zone, my lane was as far as being with the clients and focusing there. And so the thought behind building the team was, if I can leverage the parts that I'm not only um, it's not my lane and I'm not good at, I can also bring other people into my world and impact their lives, which causes a ripple effect, which was of interest to me. And so I went down that road and started building the team. And that process started in 2011 of really building, the team that was the agent side and the transaction coordinator and, all of the admin staff, marketing, et cetera. And so again, that thought process was, if I can leverage the things I'm not good at, I can really focus and build this to the levels that I want to build it. And so it started in 2011, and by 2013 there was 9 of us, and we were in the top 5 of teams in our state. And so it definitely helped building that team very quickly, and it was proof is in the pudding and what we were able to create at that time.
And tell me about your team structure. How many admins did you have versus agents? How is everything organized?
Yes, so there was 4 admin, which consisted of, the billing side of things, HR, and then admin in marketing, transaction coordinator, and then like a full-time marketing person. And then the rest were agents. So, at any given point, it was 6 agents and 3 admin, and then 7 agents, 4 admin. So that was the growth with that.
What are some of the mistakes you made along the way? What are some of the things you learned as you built that first team?
Yes. So I definitely failed a lot and failed often. And some of the lessons that I learned, from the mistakes that I made was I want and I like to go fast. And so I always felt burdened by, the team, and didn't want to slow down enough to explain things, show them what, to do, and how to write a process so that I don't have to train again. And so that was definitely the mistake I'd say I made over and over again, just because I didn't slow down. And so definitely, I now see the value in slowing down and truly leveraging versus what I kept trying to do before. So that was a big one. The other one was, really investing in, again, taking the time to invest in my team and the team members so that, they're lifted up. And when they're lifted up, the whole company, lifts up naturally. And so that was another shift from, all the mistakes that I made in that way. And then just overall impatience. I think, making that mistake over and over again and having such high expectations. I think a lot of my team members in the past, felt like they were afraid to disappoint me, and that probably exhausted a lot of energy for them day in and day out, because I had such high expectations. So, being more clear in those expectations up front is the correction as well that I've made.
Yeah. When you think back to that team when it was at its height, and given some of those learning challenges that you were going through, how do you think you would describe the culture, or how do you think your team would describe the culture at that time?
Yes, it was very high energy and very motivational, and it felt like a small family. That's something that definitely has been consistent as the team, has grown, has changed over the years. It's always been that family feel. So I would say that's how they would describe the culture.
Cool. Now, what was it, about a year ago, you decided to completely start over, right? You scrapped that team and started from scratch. So why did you do that? I mean, that's such a big decision. Why go back to ground zero and start again?
Yes. So another mistake that I kept making, as I grew the team and it changed and things, was I referred to it as the 8-legged spider, in that I was that spider where I had all these people around, but I was still doing a portion of each job. I was still the top producer on the team. I was managing the team, dealing with clients. So I was doing everything, but had all this help, and so part of why I made the decision that I did was to get really clear on the model that I wanted to run, because I wasn't running my model. I was running, a portion of a Keller Williams model and, another brokerage model based on the way I was trained. And so I wanted to be completely in alignment. And so that was a big part of that. Another thing was I had gotten so expense heavy over the years, and I needed to reset that, because things that I was doing, it wasn't important anymore. We had this huge, beautiful office on the water, and it's like agents don't go in the office that much anymore, So luckily I was like randomly approached by another company that wanted to sublease that space. And so everything, fell into place as I got clear of what needed to happen and change for me. In addition to that, I wanted to set the business up, as we were talking about prior to getting on the call, set the business up based upon the life that you want to live, not the other way around. Think about that first. And because I started so young, I didn't ever plan that out, frankly. So it was just about achievement versus considering what fulfills me as well. And so it was a long process getting to the decision last year. It took a lot of coaches and trips to India to get, get to the process point where I could. Yes. Yeah. So it was the best one though that, I've ever made. This year has been truly the highlight of my career.
Wow. And like your timing, right? So you close out your team, you start a new one, and then COVID happens, and yet you still manage to thrive through it, which is incredible. So I think, I love talking to people about making big, bold, audacious decisions like that, because I talk to so many people who are struggling with, do I move? Do I change jobs? Do I do this thing that I feel like I should probably do, but I'm really scared? How did you conquer the fear around that decision?
Yeah. So what's so interesting about decisions like that is the only reason that we get stuck in the fear is because we're afraid of what other people think. I truly believe that. And I think especially, as a woman, I know that, for me, it was, that caretaker nurturer side of like, I care for this team, I nurture them. It's more of that side of it. And if I wasn't concerned with what people thought or feeling like, I had these responsibilities as I did, I would have made the decision a lot sooner. And so I think the more comfortable that I was and, learn to be as, more comfortable is getting comfortable with what I truly want and building my life from that space, because at the end of the day, that's really all that matters, And so getting out of that fear simply was, a decision to focus on, myself and filling my cup and all of that good stuff that at the end of the day is better for everyone involved. And so I would say, getting through that fear is at a basic level, worrying about what you think, what you approve of, and making that decision.
Mm-hmm. So what is your business model today, and how does that, help you live a more balanced life?
Yeah. So the business model is more focused on highly experienced agents and then making leaders in each leg of the business. So as an example, we have a new construction leg, an existing residential leg, relocation leg, new agent leg, past client leg. So there is a leader that's responsible for each pod, if you will, versus me being involved in each pod. So instead of focusing on the client side, I'm focusing on that one person and training them, downloading everything possible, so that they're empowered to really achieve their goals. And then ultimately, like I said earlier, the company thrives because of it.
So describe your life today and maybe contrast that to what it was like when you had your other team.
Yes, that's a great question. So today it's much more intentional versus busy. So it's much more productive than busy. Before it was, as a salesperson being in it, running out, meeting clients, not so much focused on the strategic moves. So definitely a lot more calm because it's not so hectic. There is my purpose that has always been there, through and through. I'm actively working in my purpose each day, and being able to have the opportunity to work with these agents and people on my team and see them step into leadership, see them learn and become better agents and people, is so rewarding. And I feel honored to be in the position that I am to help them and see them thrive. It's so rewarding.
I love that. And do you feel like you've been able to become more patient in this role?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Even at the beginning of this year, as I started this new model, I still found myself, when something would go wrong, the go-to is I swoop in and save them, save the situation, fix everything. And it took an adjustment. Thankfully, I was able to do that, behind the scenes, so no one was affected, to stay on course. But yeah, it's definitely, it's hard, sometimes to see them to fail, fall down, but it's so important that they get to do that, because I got to do that. And because there wasn't someone, there to clean things up, I learned that you don't go through that again.
Yeah, exactly, right? That like decision to just let them figure it out is really hard when you want to just have things done right in your way, and just learning to detach a little bit and trust, like, you hired smart, talented people, and they'll figure it out, they'll learn, it'll be better down the road.
Yes,
It's a great lesson to learn, and it's not an easy one for sure. I can totally
absolutely.
relate. So I want to talk about your director of operations, because we focus a lot on that role at Pro REA, and it's such a key position. So where and how did you find the person who is in that role today, and talk about your dynamic with them?
Yes. So it's actually my husband, and I met
I
him.
didn't realize
Yes,
that. That's awesome.
yes, which is even more of a great subject to talk about, because there are a lot of situations that where you are related, or husband wife kind of thing in
Yeah.
real estate. So he's been with me. It'll be 7 years in January that he's been in that role, and that the dynamic is definitely going back to what I was talking about earlier, where when he came on board, I wasn't training. I wasn't, clearly defining expectations. And so he's almost had a more challenging road than, others on the team, just because there's that personal element. And also he's been a part of the equation through the times that wasn't there, to today,
Yeah.
where that's established. And so, looking at ways I could have set him up better for success is so much around, those clear expectations, and setting him up for success in what that long-term plan is, what that, strategy is for hiring people, hiring agents. And so I would say that, just from a what could I have done better standpoint, and sharing those lessons. I definitely think clearly defining, the boundaries, expectations, and also letting go, because it's definitely a pain point with us, as far as I still have my hands on everything, and he's my husband, he's fully capable, and I trust him with everything, but I'm
Right.
still trying to control everything.
Yeah.
So that has been such a great shift for him, as I have just trusted him, let him do his job. Things have gone a lot smoother.
That is so interesting. Yeah, the husband and wife dynamics in with everything else is just like a whole nother can of worms. So how do you manage that? I mean, do you have, like, business is only talked about at work, and do you separate things, or is it all mixed in together? How do you guys manage being together all the time in business and in life?
Yes. So with the business side of things, we actually did not put this into place until late last year. And I so wish we would have done it sooner because it's been so great for us. But we set rules for where business is talked about and when,
Mhm.
because especially in real estate, it can be 10 o'clock at night and you're getting communication and things like that. By the way, that's not what we do, but I was giving an example,
Yeah.
set those boundaries. You don't have to answer after 6. I digress. With him, we set the boundaries of where and when, because even though it was during business hours, there may be an exception where, you're going to a workout or something like that during the day. And so just being really clear of where and when we're talking about that. And that has been so helpful. It definitely has been super challenging because we're on Myers-Briggs on every personality test, exactly opposite.
Mhm.
And so that dynamic, and speaking almost completely different languages from a thinker and feeler standpoint, man and woman, and then in the relationship, there has been a lot of challenges, but it's so rewarding as we've worked through what we have, because that's where the gold is. It's like no pressure, no diamonds, right? We
Yeah.
worked through that and are happy on the other side of it.
Very cool. I want to talk about boundaries. You touched on something that is also sort of a passion subject of mine, which is not letting your clients run your life. So, how do you establish boundaries, and what are those boundaries with your clients?
Yes. So I don't answer my phone after 6 o'clock. And if there's an exception, I mean, something crazy is happening, the hard line is 7. And there isn't a problem with that with my clients, because I found as I have trained them how to speak with me and how to work with me, it's not a problem because nothing happens, after close of business anyway. And everyone in real estate thinks that their hair is on fire, and that can rub off on you. And it's so important to remember that it's your business and your job is to be the professional and the leader to tell them how to operate and show them the way. So if you're running around being a Pop-Tart realtor or answering until 10 at night, you're actually adding a level of stress to the client's plate and you don't even know it, because they don't want to be contacting you that late, right? They have their personal life, and so if you put that structure in place, it creates another level of trust and respect with your clientele, because they know how to win with you. When you're on, you are 110% on because you're rested and you're not working 24/7. And I've seen it be super successful since putting that into place.
So, I know you do coaching, and we're going to talk about that. But when you talk about this with the agents you're coaching, I'm sure you get pushback, right?
Yes.
They can't even imagine. Like, that's crazy talk. You don't answer your phone at night, your clients are going to fire you. So, can you think of somebody who came in with that, I don't know, scarcity mindset where they had to be available all the time, and how you got that? Were you able to get somebody to adapt and get them to the other side of that limiting belief?
Yes. Yeah. And you hit it on the head, talking about scarcity, because at first with the agents, they're not looking at it from that perspective. They're looking at it from answering the phone perspective. And so when you dig deeper and you show them that they're operating from fear and the chaos that can be created because they're operating from that space, it helps them, go to that 30,000-foot view with you and decide that they don't want to operate from fear. They want to operate from, that positive, abundant internal state. So that has been how I've successfully adjusted and helped, empower those agents, is just to shift that mindset from it being about the phone calls to the deeper problem.
Hmm. Well, and
Yeah.
it's such a systemic problem, right? Because if that's the belief that you operate your business under, and then you have an assistant and a team, and then you're expecting them to be on call every weekend and on the evenings, and then you're frustrated because they're burnt out and they don't want to do that. They don't like that they could get a call at any time, and God forbid they have a drink at dinner because they might be, back on the computer at 9:30 at night trying to write a contract or something. And
Right.
it's not reasonable to expect someone to live like that. And it's what I love about real estate is that every agent creates a business that is so much a reflection of themselves, right? And it's so interesting to see how different people succeed. And you really can succeed and thrive in the business and not be a stressed out mess, right? It's possible. And I see it. And then I see $1 million producers who, have boundaries and have work-life balance. And I see other ones who have no relationships outside of work and they work all the time. So you can do it both ways. So which way do you want? Right?
Exactly. Yes. It's like, who do you want to be, and how do you want to leave things, right? Do you want to come in and be known for that? Or do you want to come in and create something that has a positive impact on your team and your clients? So, yeah.
I think for some people, it probably feels like a train that's on a set of tracks that they can't derail. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been doing things a certain way, and you may have felt that way. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you shut down your team and restarted. And so have you worked with other people who are dealing with, they've created a business that has become a bit of a monster, and now they're trying to change course and trying to figure out how the heck they do that?
Yes, definitely. And I've even, dealt with that with agents that, have come on the team, is just going from doing it one way and thinking that that's the norm for so long, and then being exposed to a more structured, organized, platform, and the resistance that they don't even realize is there in them, and it's just so funny when people and agents start to realize, like, oh, I'm the one that's doing this. I'm the one that's getting in my own way. Like, I can choose to go a different route and be successful.
Very cool. I'm hoping that all of the chaos that we're experiencing now is going to help fuel a new way to think about the way we operate and create this new opportunity for people to, create that shift for themselves and, build the business that supports their life, which is the reason everyone gets into real estate, right? Nobody starts their own business to work 24/7. You might as well go work for corporate America and, have a 401k and a pension or whatever, right?
Right.
This is supposed to be about freedom. So, create freedom for yourself. So, I want to go back a little bit. Was your husband your first EA, or did you have somebody else in that role before him? Like, I want to talk about your first experience letting go of tasks with your first executive assistant.
Yes. So it's funny. The first one, I actually just reconnected with her and saw her. She worked with me for years, and she went to the TC role when my husband came on board and handled that side of it. But when I first started working with her, it was a great dynamic because we both had that, nurture kind of caretaker side. I want to find a different word than caretaker, for lack of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked well because although I wasn't clear, she could roll with me, which was really important. After some time, I didn't know this, but I was called the Dragon Lady, and and they called me that only just because it was like, I didn't provide clear expectations, and then I would get so upset when I wasn't getting what I need, right? And so that would definitely be, that learning curve working with her. I don't want to paint a bad picture of myself because it wasn't all Dragon Lady. It was just once in a while, maybe once a week. But overall, it was positive. But I had the support of other people that had taken her through the interviewing and hiring process, because at that point in time, I didn't have a system. And so that, of course, was a leg up, knowing that she was someone that would be a good fit for me. They knew my personality. They did, something similar to, I don't know exactly, what your services are, but similar in that way, just because if I had to slow down at that point, I don't think I would have been able to find someone like her.
Hmm. And when people hire their first assistant and they have that experience of having to let somebody into their world, like into their calendar, into their email, they love all the freedom they have in their business, and now all of a sudden somebody wants to know where they are, right? For some people, that's really hard. Or, like you said, setting expectations and slowing down. Um, what I'm trying to figure out, what is my question in this? So my question is, what kind of coaching or advice do you give other people when they are starting to work with their very first admin, starting to get leverage in their business? What are some of the hot buttons you like to talk about with them?
Yes. I would say figure out in advance exactly what you want them to do, because every agent is a little bit different as far as, if it's an EA or if it's a coordinator of some kind. So get really clear on that and then write out that job description, that position agreement, and then write out or work with someone to create a 30-day training boot camp is what we call it, so that the first 30 days together, you have it planned out in advance. You can plan showings around that time. You know exactly what you're going to go over so that that person is set up for success and doing what you want from the beginning versus what I did, which was get mad because they couldn't read my mind. And so lining that out, and going as basic as possible. What I recommend is write out that 30-day plan and then bounce it off someone and see if you're being clear enough and basic enough, and over explain everything. Take that time and you'll see better success because of it.
Wonderful. And I think the other thing that I see new agents not do is rewrite their own job description.
Mhm.
So now you have things off of your plate, which means you now have time to do other things. So what are you going to do with your time? Because what I see happen is an agent who loves marketing, right? Finally has an assistant who's supposed to be handling marketing, but it's a slow afternoon and they start, fiddling with the flyers or doing their admin's work. And the admin doesn't want to say, hey, like, get out of my lane, even though they probably should say something along those lines. And then the agent is wondering why they're not making more money and they have an assistant. So, right. So, making sure that you have a plan for yourself for how you're going to actually use this person as leverage. Leverage means you get to do more of the dollar productive activities that you didn't have time to do before, right? Um, it always cracks me up. Actually, it used to crack me up, and then when I started to let go of things and I was no longer in the recruiting role, and I would find myself doing the exact same thing, poking into the pipelines, like, what's happening, what's happening? And finally my team was like, you're not being helpful.
Yes.
Like, stay out. I'm like, okay, I will step away, do my job. No, I think that's wonderful. So I've touched a little bit on the fact that you're doing some coaching. Can you elaborate more on like what's next for you? What are you doing?
Yes,
Now?
definitely. So in my journey of real estate, the thing that I found that is consistently present is the idea if an agent could have professional training outside of going to real estate school for the licensing side of it, that they would be better set up to, not have to make the same mistakes I did or, um, delay getting to the goals that they have. And so, what I've done is created just a system and training program that agents can, from start to finish, identify what income goals they have, what kind of team they want to have, and then it generates who you need to call, what you need to say, really breaks down every single answer to be successful and achieve that goal in this calendar year. And then from there, what kind of team do they want? Who do they need to hire next? That is very much missing from the real estate world. And what I did was surveyed both new and experienced agents that were producing at a high level. And what was interesting is while they had different current problems, the new agent was like, who do I call? How do I generate business? The experienced agent was thinking more, how can I get my life back? Do I need an assistant? What does that team look like? And so both of those, problems can be solved through the system and coaching that we're doing. And so that was the thought process and inspiration behind it, because anything that I do, I want to leave it better than when I arrived. And I just think there's such an opportunity in the real estate industry, to your point, that it evolved given this current time that we're in, for more reasons than just the pandemic, that there could be that next level of infrastructure for the real estate professionals, because if they have that, then they're able to provide better customer service. They're able to be better professionals because they're not worrying where their next check's going to come from. They have a strategy that they're working. So that's the nuts and bolts of the program.
Fantastic. Well, I'll make sure to include a link to that in the description so people can check it out. It was so great to talk with you and to learn about your journey. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Offer Accepted, the podcast for fostering careers in real estate and growing a successful real estate team. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. You can also check us out on YouTube. Search Pro REA Staffing and you'll find this and a ton more content all around hiring and managing your growing real estate team and launching your career in real estate. We'll see you in the next episode.